This way.
Towards you?
Yes, towards me. We're live! Hello.
Live from New York!
It's Bunny and Jodelle.
Dun, dun, dun.
How stressed are you right
I'm
now?
really stressed right now because evidently I keep turning your stove on and off and I don't even know how I'm doing
I know, more than that. You said you're even more stressed out than that. Look, I have like green eyes because of the reflection out my windows. Hi, welcome to the podcast. We've got a lot to talk about today, so we're going to get right to it. Because what time do you have to leave?
About 4:20.
4:20. Okay.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah. So we've got a little bit less than an hour to go here. And before we get started, I just want to make sure that we're live on Patreon because I'm recording this on my iPad, coming through YouTube into Patreon. So it looks like we're on because we can see ourselves now.
Oh, and it's like it's a little bit. It's a
funny to
little
watch
bit of a
yourself.
delay. Look.
Yes. Okay, so are you under stress right now? Because it's that time of year, right? 'Tis the season to be stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about today because it's not just this season, it's all the time. And tell them, like, some of the stress you're under right now while I go shut my windows, curtains, because you can see my eyes better and her eyes better if we do that.
Hey, because of the glare. There's
Yeah,
a little bit of glare like right there.
Glare here.
Well, I was just telling Jodelle that I have a couple of part-time jobs, and some people are thinking that they don't need to work, so it makes some of us have to work more. And it's like, I don't think that's fair. Because
No.
just because you want to spend time with your family, I want to spend time with my family too.
Yeah, and I'm like, why do people have to go anywhere on that certain day? You know, like, why can't they just stay home and enjoy each other? You know, but that's whatever it is.
Well, and people forget too, when you commit to a job, you're always given a day or two off, or maybe 3 or 4. Those are when you need to do those activities.
Right.
They forget those things. It's like, well, gosh, I was bored on Saturday. I didn't do anything all day. Oh, but Wednesday, everybody wants to go to the lake.
Well, it's not just that. It's like I was talking to you before about how people have responsibilities, like their like teaching a class, for example. Like instructors teach this one class, and then they decide at the last minute, oh, I'm going to go with my family and do these holiday things. And so this instance happened where this girl texted one of my friends who is also an instructor, and she said, I need you to sub for me because I have to go out of town tomorrow. And the girl's like, what do? I feel so bad because she needs my help. And I'm like, why is she going to town, like, when she knows she has a responsibility?
Right.
And that's what we're lacking in society is, like, a respect of our responsibilities, of our time and stuff like that. So what does that do? It stresses us out. It stresses those of us out that try to stick to our responsibilities and stay true to our beliefs and stuff like that. So we're talking stress today, and we're talking cortisol specifically. There is an epidemic, basically, of people that are coming into my practice with high cortisol, high insulin resistance, which has to do with cortisol, and then also anxiety, depression, overexertion, like burning the candle at both ends. So I'm specifically talking to the people today out there who are the overtrainers. You over-exercise too. I'm one of them. Also the people that are overanalyzers. Maybe you're not an over-exerciser, but you overanalyze everything. So everything somebody says to you, you're like, what do they mean by that?
Oh,
what
yeah,
that actually
I
mean?
do
Ruminate
that.
on it, roll it around in your head. Then how about the overthinkers, the overachievers? You know, everybody's not putting so much on your plate. You're putting so much on your plate. And one of those types of people is people that don't say no.
Why are you pointing at me through all of
at
this?
you because you were just telling me the story about all these jobs that require so much of you, but at the same time you can say no. It is okay to say no, and that's one part of lowering cortisol is allowing yourself the wherewithal to say, you know what, I need to take care of me too. Everybody else's stuff can wait. This is important. So
Did you know that wherewithal rhymes with cortisol?
And we move on. Okay, so type A's, we're talking to you today. You type A's out there.
Do you think I'm a type A?
Yeah, kind of. I am too, though. So I'm preaching the choir, but I'm telling you, you guys need to tune in because I want you to be aware of how you can help your cortisol get into balance. And I'm going to talk about what cortisol is, too, for those of you going, what's cortisol? Burning the candle at both ends, meaning you go to bed late, you get up early, My mom was classic for this because she was in bed at probably 2 a.m. in the morning and then got up at 5 to go to work.
Ah.
Yeah, every day. I'm not talking like a couple days a week, every day. And she didn't work like a ho-hum job. She was in a laboratory in a hospital dealing with everybody's like, I need this now. This patient's sick. I need this blood work ran now. You know, it was very high stress. No wonder she died of stomach cancer.
God, no kidding.
Couple that with the low-fat diet, but that's a whole nother podcast. So then what I call the phenomenal syndrome, you know, your mom and everything has to be perfect and no, don't do it. I'll do it myself. You can't get it done if I'm not doing it. So it's what I call phenomenal. You have to be like, it just has to be you all the time doing it. So I'm talking to you guys because I tend to ask my clients when I meet with them, like, how much stress are you under on like a scale of 1 to 10? And they'll go, oh, you know, my life's not that stressful. And then I have to say, well, how much of it is self-induced stress? Like the thoughts that are ruminating in your mind all the time about, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, I didn't do that right. I need to get this. My body doesn't look right. I'm always working on this. I got to go lower calorie. Oh, I didn't take a poo today. You know, like all these things that you're putting pressure on that has to be perfect. And then I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how high is your stress when I add in that factor? And they go, oh, like an 11.
Yeah.
So
14.
Yeah. So I'm specifically talking to those people out there. And if it's not you, then at least share this podcast with someone that you know would benefit from this, because we're going to be doing a lot of talking about that. Plus, we have promo codes for you. So one of which is what we're wearing right here, which is Swannies, Swan McSleep. So down below in this little podcast on Patreon, you will see a link for Swannies, and you get 15% off by entering GetFit15. That's all one word, GetFit15. You get 15% off. So I'll go ahead and give you that, so that while you're listening, you can go to the little link below and order your blue blockers, because part of lowering cortisol, which I'm going to tell you what cortisol is, but part of lowering it is actually to not expose yourself to bright light at night. Okay, that messes up your circadian rhythm. Tell them what circadian rhythm is.
It's those bugs that come out every 7 years.
That's what she thinks is cicadas. But I'm talking circadian rhythm is your natural human rhythm, as it's supposed to be getting up with the sun, going to bed, or winding down when the sun goes down. Okay?
Because when the sun goes down,
you'll be sleeping. That's how it's supposed to be anyway. But a lot of us are turning on all this blue light technology at night, and that's telling our body, oh, it's still day. Oh, we should have more food because it's daytime. Oh, it's this my favorite show, so now I'm all excited and there's blue light and I'm on my phone. And that is the reason why you're not sleeping, okay? You can't wind down when your body is telling you, it's not nighttime. What are you talking about? Look at all the light around us. Okay, so get your blue blockers if you're going to watch The Walking Dead and be on your phone at night playing Words with Friends.
So it's dark by 5:30 these days.
Yes.
What time do you go to bed?
8:30.
Are you okay? So you stay up till?
I stay up. I was 8:30 when I lived at your house.
I know. I was wondering if you were going to bed earlier since it's darker earlier.
No, it's still 8:30. I mean,
and you still get up at 3 in the morning.
At night.
Yeah.
I don't get up at 3. It's 4:30. I naturally wake up between 4:30 and 5. So if you need me at 4:30 and 5, I'll probably be.
So when you lay down at 8:30, how quick do you fall asleep? Pretty quick.
Yeah, within like 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Do you sleep all the way through that, or do you get up to pee?
I usually wake up one time to pee. Now this is here's an interesting fact you might want to know. I suffered from high cortisol for a long time, and I was able to remedy it through a lot of these different things I'm going to be talking about. And one thing that was really bad about me, I don't know if you remember, but I used to tell you how I would get up between 5 and 6 times a night to pee. And that's how I knew you were up.
Because you'd hear me.
Yeah. And I still would have like these waves of like I slept for a while, and then the next few nights I would be up peeing. So it was like something was really off. And so I had to tackle all this too. And I'm still, the one thing about the adrenal glands, which let's go right into where cortisol is produced. Your adrenal glands are those little walnut-shaped glands that sit right on top of your kidneys, and they push out cortisol in response to stress. Okay, cortisol does not stress your body. So everybody that goes, it's your stress hormone and it's bad, nasty cortisol. No, it's helping you. Like cortisol is an amazing thing because it's anti-inflammatory. So when you're having an inflammatory reaction, like something really hurts, that stresses your body. And so cortisol goes, let's go. And adrenaline pumps out cortisol to help you be able to walk into the hospital or whatever it is that you've done. Okay, so, or think about, here's an easy way to think about too, for those of you that get up really early and you go to the gym or whatever and work out, and you get on the treadmill or the elliptical, and the first couple of times you get on it, for the first couple of minutes, you're like, oh, everything hurts. I'm so sore. Yeah. And then after half a mile or a mile, you're like, oh, I suddenly feel better. Welcome to cortisol. Cortisol was excreted in response to that stressed out mannerism of doing something strenuous and your body trying to move. And so cortisol pumped out and gave you like anti-inflammatory in the joints and everything that you're working. So it is a good thing. However, it gets out of balance when we're no longer just experiencing that little bit of stress getting on the treadmill. Now we have stress every minute of every day, and even at night when you can't sleep, you're stressing out and worrying about it, okay? So that's why I'm talking about this today, because it's at an all-time high. And how do I know that? Is because everybody that's coming to me is going, I have anxiety, I feel so much stress, I don't know how to get it all done, can you put me on a supplement that'll calm my brain? And I'm like, no, we need to calm you down. We need to, like, your brain's suffering, we need to help your brain, and we need to get that cortisol in check, okay? Cortisol also is responsible for those of you out there that go, I cannot lose weight. No matter what I do, no matter what diet I go on, no matter what, my weight is not changing. And it used to be really easy for me to diet and lose the 5 or 10 pounds that I wanted to, and now it's not happening. And so that is, when I hear that, I'm like, ting, cortisol, like, no matter what you do, it's not going to matter. So I keep pounding the counter, and all the iTunes listeners are going to be like, what is that noise? So sorry, iTunes listeners. So we're talking stress management, cortisol, weight gain that won't budge, why stress makes you fat, and what to do about it once and for all. We also have some news. So before we go into...
Is it news and cues?
Yeah, but we don't have any cues. So.
Okay.
So that's where you guys come in, all 2 of you that are listening. Hopefully there's more.
I was going to say, how can we tell? Oh, we have, so the little...
Two little listeners. So
who are they? Can they tell us who they are?
I don't know. They sure can if they type in on Patreon. Oops, I lost my page here.
Oh, you lost them.
So if you guys want to leave questions, we're going to try to answer your questions. Oh, Lindsay says hi just now.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi. So if you guys, I can see your comments now, so if you want to leave any questions, we will answer them as we see them come in. So the news part, though, so I always want to do like little news segments, so I wanted to bring this up. And let me pull up the page, and I wish I had a way of showing it to you, but I don't, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. But I can give you the link for it. So the USDA, the food availability data, has just come out in January, so it's kind of news, but not. I mean, it's been out since January, but nobody's really talking about it. And I found it when I was looking up doing some research on the USDA and like food guide pyramid and stuff like that, because I'm like, flip that food guide pyramid upside down. But Americans have followed the dietary advice, evidently, because here's the statistics that have come in. So 35% of fresh fruit is up. Red meat is down by 28%. Veggies are up by 20%, so good for you guys. Eggs are down by 13%. We're going to talk about why that's a tragedy. And if it's about the What the Health movie, then I'm just really upset about that whole movie, but whatever.
What the Health?
Yeah, it's a documentary on Netflix that talks about how eggs are no different than smoking cigarettes. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Logically, does anybody really buy that? Not to mention the fact that they sold it onto Netflix for a profit. Like they're not doing this for your health, people. Okay, and nuts are up by 51%. I'm kind of I'm not real happy about that one, but it is what it
is. There's worse
so,
things to eat.
Right, that's true. So I wanted to come down to the really sad part about fats. Okay, whole milk is down by 79%, while lower fat and skim milk are up by 127%.
Holy moly!
127%. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, I don't like milk, but if you're going to drink it, you better be drinking the whole stuff, and raw is even better. So, no, don't, that's good.
I know.
It's raw dairy. It's not pasteurized, but it's still very clean and pure because it's how God created it. We don't need a factory. God made it nice. Okay, so animal fats, saturated fats are down by 27%. Wah, 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 because we need saturated fats. remember, breast milk is 50 to 60% saturated fat. Okay,
but don't you think these are because people think that if there's fat in it, then they shouldn't have it?
Right, they're following the doctor's advice, the USDA food guide pyramid that says limit your saturated fat, eat lean cuts of meat, and yet where has that gotten us? But since 94 all the way to 2010, the population of diabetes has quadrupled throughout our country. Okay, and people are heavier than they ever were. So how's that working for you? I'm still going to make that t-shirt. Oh, they haven't seen my t-shirt. Look at that. That's cool. And my hat. Okay, so if you want one of these, let me know, because I'm going to hopefully start carrying these on my website for anybody that wants. And I might do some wording, like I love the smell of bacon in the morning. It's something like that. I love the smell of fat burning. It smells like bacon. So vegetable fats and oils are up by 87%. That's really sad because people are, and it's true because of the fast food craze right now. In fact, I have an insider, a friend who works for the oil industry that distributes all the oil to the fast food places like Popeye's Chicken and KFC and stuff like that. And she said the oil is just booming. So that means people are going and buying it, and that means that it's in high commodity, and it's a very sad thing because this is what's destroying people's health, is the soybean oil, the vegetable oil, the canola oils, and things like that, corn oils. Salad and cooking oils are up by 248%. So if you're in the salad dressing industry, apparently you're doing really good. Let's see. The other thing I want to say is, bottom line, Americans have done a very good job following U.S. guidelines, but yet we're sicker than ever. Food for thought. To blame obesity, diabetes, and other nutrition-related diseases on saturated fat and red meat is strongly contradicted to this data. And to suggest that more fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, whole grains, fish, and nuts will be a panacea for health are also contradicted by this data.
What?
A panacea, like a figment of your imagination. So anyway, what that's saying is it's really, we're in a sad state of affairs, people, and this also contributes to the stress that we're under. So you can take a look at this by going to, I have the other website that I pulled up from, there's a really great book called The Big Fat Surprise, and the author of it published this on her blog, which is really interesting, all of the statistics that she wrote down on it. So check that out if you're wanting to know, is it okay for me to eat fats? Because everybody tends to go, really? Can I eat like egg yolks and stuff like that? Like, logic, people. What was created for us? Like, aside from what the TV tells you, like, think about it. It's like, what would you think would be more conducive to health for your child? An egg white or an egg? Okay? So, like, it's not rocket science. It's like people need to think logically instead of thinking what the Shape magazine says. Okay, and a study from Yale University of 1,709 men found that those who regularly got less than 6 hours of shut-eye doubled their risk of weight gain and diabetes because of the excess cortisol exposure and its interference with insulin metabolism and blood sugar control. Okay, 6 hours of shut-eye or less. That created more insulin problems and more metabolism problems. 6 hours.
I know, that's... I'd be pretty happy if I slept for 6 hours.
So that's something to think about. When you're trying to lower your cortisol, we definitely need to work on sleep. And these help, people. If you don't believe me, go to my YouTube channel and watch my little testimonial on these, because I don't take sleep medicine anymore. Oops, lost my notes. So any questions out there while we're moving on to more cortisol info? Let me pull up my page here. I don't see any more questions, but if you're out there, just go ahead and leave them. Let's see if we're still running okay, because we're all new to Patreon. So for those of you that are listening on iTunes, if you want to see this video of us sitting in my kitchen, we're not really doing anything, but if you did want to watch it,
we can, though.
You can go to patreon.com/Jodelle, and this is where I'll be starting January 1st, okay? No more on Facebook. Facebook is not helping me because their algorithms are ridiculous, and I want to reach my inner circle. I want to reach the people that actually care about learning. Okay, so if you're those people, go to patreon.com/Jodelle. You can donate as little as $1 a month, and that's $12 for the whole year, and you get all kinds of my free stuff. Like I put out a free meal plan. I've been doing restorative natural movement workouts, so those have been fun. The episode 2, for those of you who are patrons, is getting ready to come out tomorrow, so episode 1 and 2 will be available, and I'm working on 3 right now. And then I also put recipes and tips and tricks, and I just uploaded a really cool video using my EMF meter. Okay, so this is like my EMF meter, and let me show you, Bunny, how it works right now. If I put it on electric, this is the amount of radiation we're exposed to right now. See it jumping around? So if I get closer to the iPad, it gets more. See? If I get closer to my cell phone, it bounces around as signals are being sent in my cell phone. So if you guys want to see that, I'm going to hold it up, and you can see how it's kind of bouncing, and that's all the signals. As I get closer to my iPad, you can see it. So if you want to learn more about EMF, electromagnetic field exposure, I have a whole video I just uploaded on Patreon. So it's kind of cool. Okay, looks like we might have a comment here. Let me check that real quick.
Comment?
Oh, what's the discount for the Swannies? Say, because it's Get Fit 15 and it's 15% off, and so that's a really good deal right now, so to get that. So I highly encourage you to go, Lindsay. Good question. And then she said, when you have a rough night with your kids, what's the best way to make up for lack of sleep for the next day? I have a really hard time getting enough sleep. This is an excellent question. So while you can't, like, you know, all of a sudden go back to bed because you got to go to work and you have the kids to take care of. You keep turning on my stove.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to get my Patreon app going.
What you can do is try to lower the cortisol response that you do the rest of the day. So, like, if you didn't get a good night's sleep, it's probably not a good idea to go get a workout in, because that's just going to further your stress and further exhaust you. You need to know that on those days you don't get enough sleep, you will be more hungry, because ghrelin, which is that gremlin of hunger, gets you going when you don't have enough sleep. So you're going to be hungrier. So note that about yourself. Eat a little lower carb that day and higher fat to keep yourself satisfied. My stove keeps
I didn't do that.
Okay. Keep yourself satisfied with higher fat, lower carb on that day, so you're not like ravenously picking at everything. Then that night, try to get to bed earlier. It's just like if, let's say, your toddler didn't get a nap that day. What are you going to do with them that night? And most parents would say you're going to go to bed early because you didn't get your nap in, okay? And that's the same with you. So while you can't, you know, make up for the sleep loss during the week on the weekend by sleeping in, the best thing to do is mitigate your other stresses, which we're going to be talking about. So stay tuned, Lindsay, because we're going to be talking about the rest of the stuff that you can do to lower cortisol when it's going to already naturally be high because of lack of sleep, okay? So we're just going to do what we can do, right?
Right.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is, are you addicted to cortisol? Because this is true for you overtrainers out there, over-exercisers. These are the people that actually don't feel good unless they get up and get their hit of a workout, or later in the day they can't function if they don't have their scheduled workout in. Okay, and it's not everybody out there that I'm talking to, but for those of you that are watching this is kind of like an addiction to that feeling that cortisol and the hit of dopamine, the endorphins, you know how you feel good after a workout or during a workout, you're like, yes, I'm doing this. Okay, that's the rush that you get, and you can actually get addicted to that, to where you become a high cortisol and you have a cortisol imbalance because you won't stop the workout. You won't stop the constant stress on your body. Okay, what were you going to say?
No, I was just thinking, I wish I felt like that all the time. Because after a workout, it's just a good feeling.
Yeah, and we're going to address not just over-exercisers, too. We're going to address overthinkers and stuff, too. But for those, that's more of the people that I'm talking about are addicted to that cortisol. They almost like, these are the people that maybe it's not even exercise, but they're like, they thrive on stress. Okay, you'll know those people are like, oh no, I'm pretty stressed out, but that's what keeps me going. Like, it's like that adrenaline rush I get all the time. I always have to be doing something. Yeah. That's not necessarily healthy, and you're going to hit a burnout phase if you're not careful. So you really have to be cautious of, if you're not taking breaks, if you're not taking a Sabbath, you know, like, and I don't mean religiously, I mean give yourself a day when you don't leave the house.
You don't do anything.
Yes, and you don't have to, like, clean the entire house when you're home. You just, like, sit on the couch and read a book, or play with your kids on the floor, or write that novel you've been wanting to write where you can just sit and relax and beadwork or, knit or whatever, or go swimming or whatever it is that you love to do, paddleboarding. You do those things that you love that are not, I call paddleboarding active relaxation because it doesn't have to be strenuous. So you need those days where you're like, not go, 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 go. You need to schedule a Sabbath. That's one of the best ways to help lower your cortisol, because not only do you get that day to be a reprieve, but also thinking about that day is like, oh, I just have to get through 3 more days and then I get my Sabbath. Yeah. Okay, so, and if that Sabbath involves sleeping all day, maybe your body needs that, okay? Maybe your body needs to play catch up a little bit, and that's, in my opinion, that's not wrong or bad. Now, it can mess up your circadian rhythm, but if that's what you need to do to get back on track, and you're not going to do it forever, it's just a little bit of something to do to get you back into homeostasis, then that's okay. So
I think the way our society is, though, we've gotten ourselves to feel guilty. Like if you sit on the couch all day and don't do anything, then you feel like you've wasted a day, that you could have gotten something done.
I do that. Like, it's hard for me to sit. So that's why for those people, those overachievers and the overdoers and stuff like that, it's good to have something that is relaxing to you that you could also still be a little bit productive. So like my Aunt Carrie loves doing pottery, or she loves making, like you can see behind Bunny's left shoulder, that little mosaic tile frame. She makes those. And so she sits down in her little basement and she takes all her little tiles, and it's just this
probably
tedious,
very relaxing.
It is. She loves it, and it gets her out of the world. She's down in her own little nook and cranny. She's at home.
That's pretty cute.
And so that kind of thing can be really healing, is to set aside your own little Sabbath, just a sabbatical from your week, and just say, you know what, you guys, like, you guys go to the park, husband, go do whatever. I need my me time, and I need my Sabbath. So I'm just going to be at home. I'm just going to be kind of lazy, or I'm just going to be like mildly productive, and that's it. And that's okay. Okay. So symptoms of high cortisol. How do you know if you are suffering from a cortisol imbalance? Here's your sign. Here's your sign. Trouble losing weight. Okay, that's number one, and I put it in bold because I hear this so much of people going, I used to be able to go on a low-carb diet or do, Weight Watchers, and I could drop weight like nothing. And now it's like no matter what I do, I can't get anything to move, and I'm just frustrated. Okay, that's cortisol.
That's frustrating.
It is, and that makes stress worse because you're like, you're just beyond frustration. And so, that's something where you automatically have to go, you know what, I have to address this. I have to start saying no. I have to start taking a sabbatical, and I have to start doing all the things that Jodelle's going to tell me as we go through this, okay?
Okay.
Brain fog. Anybody have brain fog?
Once in a while.
Okay, that has to do with many things, but one thing is definitely cortisol, because when you're stressed out and you have so many irons in the fire, your brain's like smoking, okay? It's inflamed because not only is it overtaxed and overworked, but it's also not getting the rest that it needs in order to function optimally. So you're going to have brain fog. Okay, peeing all the time. Remember how I said, what are you doing? Are you popping your ears?
Yeah.
I think I'll take a picture at that point for the next podcast.
No, what was I doing?
Where'd you go? Peeing all the time. So, like I said, there was a night, I swear there was one night I got up every hour of the night to pee. Like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I'm peeing. Okay, that's not normal. If you're doing that, that's not normal. And I'm telling you from experience that it's time to work on your cortisol. Trouble sleeping, wired but tired.
Do you sometimes wake up, though, and you don't have to pee, but you think, I do this a lot. Yeah. As soon as I fall back asleep, I'm going to wake up from needing to pee. So I'll get up and go pee.
Yeah,
to keep me from waking up to pee.
That's a cortisol issue, because your cortisol is actually stressing. You're stressed in the moment about not getting up to pee. So, I get it.
Oh, my God.
Okay, trouble sleeping, wired but tired, or you're a night owl, which, by the way, night owl syndrome is not, I know. Yeah, she's ducking behind me because she knows it's true. But wired but tired means you're going to bed, but you're not getting the rest. And so you wake up in the morning and
How is that my fault?
Oh, I'm still tired. How did I just sleep for 8 hours and I'm still tired? That's because it's catching up to you. All of this stress is catching up to you, and life is not going to get any better until you address the stress, okay? So,
life.
So that wired but tired is like you have energy for the day, but it's nervous energy. You're like running on nervous energy trying to get everything done, but you're actually really tired. Like if I asked you on a scale of 1 to 10, are you tired? You'd be like, I'm so tired. Okay. High anxiety.
So tired.
Yeah, I'm so tired. High anxiety, tension all the time. Okay, so you have that inner ball of tension I've talked about before, where it's just sitting inside of you, and your shoulders are tense. So, people are like, take a deep breath. And you're like, oh, I didn't know I wasn't.
Yeah.
Chronic low back pain, because those adrenals that sit above your kidneys, when they're overtaxed and overworked and underpaid, kind of thing, they are enlarging to try to put out the right amount of hormones.
Well, that sounds kind of painful.
Well, what happens is they get enlarged, and then they compress all the nerves around them, and then you feel back pain. And you think, oh, I must have like a disc or something, but it's not. If it's dull ache on both sides, that's your adrenal glands, okay?
That makes sense.
Digestive issues, okay? So think about that gut-brain connection. When you're stressed about something and your cortisol's running high, your body's not going to send a lot of blood flow to the digestive tract to digest a meal. Okay, your body's like trying to keep you alive right now and not dying. So the last thing it cares about is the burger that you just ate. So that burger is going to get down in there and start fermenting and gassy and bloated and not digesting and all that fun stuff that comes out in the toilet later. Ulcers, that's a big stress thing because you produce less stomach acid when you're under a lot of stress. So you might develop ulcers, and then that gets really painful, so that stresses you out even more. Do you see where I'm going here? Mm-hmm, vicious circle? Mm-hmm. Okay. Low stomach acid also is, because of the stress, will then not allow you to make serotonin in the gut, which serotonin, as we know, is the what?
Your feel-good one.
Yes, you got it. Yes. My education is working.
8 years.
Okay, so serotonin is your feel-good neurotransmitter. Mm-hmm. And if you're not having the stomach acid to break down protein to make the serotonin, then you're going to start to feel anxiety, depression, all this sets in. And that exacerbates the cortisol issue when you don't feel
like
good.
it when you say that word.
What? Exacerbates. Is it too
Sounds
close
like
to another word?
No, I think we're going to another video.
Okay. Then lowered immune function. So are you the person that catches every cold that comes around the corner?
I don't.
Then
but some people do.
Yes, and there's still a cortisol issue even if that's not you, because some people, they get a heightened immune system.
One of these times you're going to go, you are doing so good. You're going to quit picking on me for all of the bad things.
Well, okay. When you start implementing the things that I say, then we'll talk about that.
I know it.
I know you'll get there. That's why I keep having you with me.
I'm slowly getting there.
I know.
It's taken a while.
Lowered immune function. So this could also be people that do get sick all the time, but it can also be heightened immune function where you don't ever get sick, and you go to the doctor and you go, no, I don't get sick. That's actually not a great thing. Okay, you might think that you're like optimally healthy or whatever, but your body is at some point when the immune system is so high, it starts attacking other things like babies. Like there's a lot of people with infertility issues that can't have a baby because their immune system is so high that it attacks the fetus. Okay, so there's a lot of detriment to having a heightened immune system too, and that can be from stress. Truncal obesity. So if you tend to gain weight through the trunk, okay, that's an issue with cortisol because.
Do you do that again?
Yes. Is that a little dance move?
The trunk.
Yeah, the truncal obesity.
Junk
dance.
in the trunk.
So if you tend to have skinny arms and legs, or your legs are getting thinner and more flabby, more cellulite-y, but your trunk is getting heavier, that's classic cortisol. Like, cross your T, dot your I's, you are cortisol, man. So we have to address
So skinny legs, big trunk.
Why is that? Do you want to know why that is?
I don't know.
I've said this on a podcast before, but I'll tell you again. It's because
skinny legs, big trunk.
These are the biggest muscles, okay? Like your thigh and your butt. That's your. Whoop, I'm falling over. That's your.
It's usually me. That's why
That's your biggest muscles, your quads and your glutes. So when you're under stress, here's what cortisol does. It's something called gluconeogenesis. Gluco is glucose.
Now.
Okay, I'm going to break it down for you.
Okay, sugar.
Sugar, yes. Neo means new, and genesis means creation. So it creates new sugar. How do you think it does that? It goes, hey, there's a whole lot of amino acids in that quadricep muscle, because what is muscle? Protein. Where do you get amino acids from? Protein. So the cortisol goes, I know how to keep you alive. I'm going to take from your quad and your buns, and I'm going to make sugar, blood sugar, okay? And I'm going to pump it around. Well, then insulin goes, hey, where does all this blood sugar come from? So insulin's sent out, and insulin is in response to getting the blood sugar into the cells. But if you've been stressed for all these years over a lot of different things, guess what? Your cells are going, you know what? We've heard enough of you, blood sugar. You're not coming in anymore. And that's what insulin resistance is. So insulin is trying to get the blood sugar into the cell, and the cell goes, nope, I'm an M&M now. I've got a thick candy shell, and you're not getting in. Mm-hmm. And so the insulin goes, well, what am I going to do with this? So guess what cells are not insulin resistant? Fat cells. Fat cells, okay? So insulin goes, well, here you go, fat cells. Let's just shove some more glucose down in there and make some more fat, okay? And that's where the weight gain comes from, specifically around the truncal obesity, because your vital organs are here. We make babies here, okay? Your body is in survival mode, and it's trying to keep you, yes, it's trying to keep you alive. So let me store fat around all of the vital organs. I need a cigarette.
That was a lot.
See how passionate
Do you
I am?
want some wine?
Just so people know, if they want to learn more about blood sugar and cortisol, oh, you need more water, don't you?
I can get it.
It's in the fridge.
I'll get it.
Okay. I'm teaching a class in Harrison, Arkansas on blood sugar basics, 101 of blood sugar, and that's January 4th, if anybody's in Harrison, Arkansas. So there's that. Okay, and skinny arms and legs we talked about. Weight gain specifically in the face, or puffy face or eyes. Did you know that?
No.
If you tend to put on weight in your face or puffy face or eyes, that is a cortisol issue, okay? And what that means is we definitely need to get that under control.
Is that even like when you just wake up suddenly and you have puffy eyes in the morning?
Yes, that's a cortisol issue. Because cortisol should be, I'm so glad you brought that up, because cortisol has a
well,
way
because that's
that
not
it should
always everybody doesn't wake up every morning with puffy eyes.
Well, it
but they
can
do
be
sometimes.
other reasons. It could be if you had a really hot, heavy, rich, processed, high-sodium meal the night before, you're going to wake up a little
I was going to say that's
like water retention.
If I eat out, that almost always the next morning, oh my gosh, I'm like, ooh, who is that? And it is. It's because I think you eat more.
Yes.
And at a restaurant than you're used to eating.
And they always use more sodium in those foods than you do at home. And then also, but this is more about if it's chronic. Like, you're like, why is my face so puffy all the time? My face is puffy. Or like you look back at pictures of you and you're like, oh man, when did my face get so big? Because I used to not be that big. But the rest of you maybe not has gotten that. Or you could say, truncal obesity and a fat face, but everything else is skinny. I don't get it. That's cortisol, okay? We have a little question here from Lori. If most of your stress occurred for years in the past, how long does it affect your current health? Oh, it only gets worse as time goes on. And the unfortunate aspect is, there's certain parts of your body that can turn over quickly and repair. The adrenals take a little bit longer, and the stress response takes a little bit longer. So once you start implementing what we're talking about today, then you can then start to feel like, okay, I'm starting to notice little differences along the way, but you're never fully healed until you maybe it might take 4 to 6 months for some people.
Really?
Yeah. But you have to be consistent. That's the key with anything in life, right? Consistency is the key.
True.
Okay, so we're already at 4:08, and you got to leave at 4:20. So I'm gonna skip some of these other symptoms because I've given a big.
Well, you can keep going. I'll just slide.
That's true. I can keep going
by
myself.
Going.
Okay, exhausted after heavy workouts or climbing stairs. I did want to say that if you climb stairs and you're like, oh, why am I so out of breath? I was just one flight of stairs. That's not normal. That's because the muscle tone in your leg is gone. And it's winding you because you don't have the muscle tone in your leg to get you up the stairs, okay? Elevated cortisol causes severe osteoporosis and arthritis as well. So people that are developing arthritis, they need to look at their cortisol levels because it could be that that's contributed to it.
This might be off the subject, but what about rheumatoid arthritis?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, they will do the same thing.
Cortisol has to do with that?
Now, that can also be from a gluten intolerance. It can be from a dairy intolerance. It can be from too much processed sugars and things like that, refined foods. But more often than not, it also stems from the stress of the body having all those things, okay? Because nutrition can be stress on the body. You can eat helpful foods or harmful foods, but if you choose the harmful ones, you're putting a further stress on the body, and that's exacerbating I know you love that word. That is, okay, let me find another one. That is causing more issues.
I taught PE. We got to be very, very simple in our vocabulary.
Okay, so what I was talking about with how cortisol causes gluconeogenesis, new creation of sugar, that's catabolism. So your body eats itself. It eats its own muscle, and that's loss of muscle mass and breakdown of tendons and ligaments. This is where people start to get more neuromuscular things that happen. This is where people tend to break down and they have more injuries than they did before. So if you're starting to go, man, I just broke my this, or I just ripped my shoulder, or I just, everything keeps happening to me, and I just turned 55. I don't know what the big deal is. Well, it's probably because your cortisol has built over this time frame, and now the body is starting to break down. And that doesn't have to do with old age. You can turn back the clock, so to speak.
If I could turn back time.
Sing it, Cher. Okay, and that it's true. You actually can turn back time and get younger as you get older, okay? But are you ever going to fully anti-age and become 2 again? No, but I'm talking at least you can stave off a lot of these preventative things, or a lot of these diseases that can be preventative, okay? So next comes an increase in appetite, cold all the time, carb cravings, insulin resistance, more stress, and more weight. So this is the vicious circle. Okay, so stress makes us fat, basically, bottom line. Reasons, okay, here's the reasons why your cortisol got out of check, okay? Life trauma or of some sort, PTSD, it could have been something that was very traumatic that you went through, a death, a surgery, something simple, even as having your wisdom teeth out, that could have snowballed the cortisol out of control. A birth, the first birth of your child, that can cause your body to go, oh, I have this whole other life to take care of. I didn't even birth my child, and I'm already
stressful.
Going, oh, how did life get 300% more stressful?
Yeah.
I remember the first few days I had her home. I'm like, well, am I always going to feel like I have to keep her from dying every minute of the day?
Yes. Hey, you know what? Even when they're 30,
I know
you still feel like that.
So for all you moms out there, I feel you. Okay, the stress is real, the struggle is real, but we're all going to get through this together. Okay, so burning the candle at both ends. We talked about that. High caffeine over the course of a lifetime. And I'm living proof of this. I'm going to put it out there right now that I'm 2 months clean off of coffee. I had to.
That is crazy.
I know. I had to. My health,
completely?
My health was, completely. Yeah, no, I haven't had any coffee for 2 months. Yeah.
Are you about to cry?
No, it is very traumatic. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But I found something that is actually keeping me from losing my sanity. I got this on Amazon. This is called Capomo, and it's a coffee alternative. And it's made from a Mayan nut seed, or Mayan nut. I guess it would be a nut, not a nut seed. Okay, it's not going to be a nut and a seed. But they grind it, and it looks like fresh ground coffee in the bag. And
Can I smell it?
Yeah. And I put it in my French press, and it gives me the closest feel to coffee without any gluten or caffeine in it that I've found. They have Dandy Blend out there, and that's good. But this Capomo
is Blend.
I can't live without this right now because I go crazy without coffee, and there will be a time when I'm going to have coffee again, but I knew my cortisol was out of balance, and I had to get it under control. And so I had to do all these things that I'm going to be talking about, too. So I feel you guys. What do you think of this?
It smells good.
I know, it does, and it tastes good, too. Okay, so birth control pills. If you're on a birth control pill, know that can...
I'm not on those.
Okay, I didn't. I was hoping you'd say no. Those can... I was almost at exacerbate again. Those can cause high stress, high cortisol. Okay, nighttime artificial light also raises cortisol levels because the brain signaling circuits have not evolved to switch off artificial light. Okay, so meaning that you can be in all this bright light and your brain does not go, oh, this isn't bright light. It's still nighttime. Your brain is not evolved to do that. So your brain thinks that it's daylight. That's why these come in handy. Get Fit 15. Use the link below. Okay. Chronic yo-yo dieting, that can cause a cortisol malfunction. Starvation, restricting calories, all of that is a stress response on the body. So if you've done that over the course of life, chances are you've built up that high cortisol, which subsequently can lead to low cortisol. Okay? What that means is high, you have this wave of like waking up in the morning. You should be able to wake yourself up and you should not feel groggy. When you get up in the morning, you should be like, oh, it's the morning, getting up. And then as the day goes on, cortisol goes down, 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 down. Okay, to where by 8 o'clock at night, you're like, oh, kids, I'm yawning. Mom, I'm so tired. Okay, that's normal. If you feel tired at 8 o'clock, good for you. Go to bed, okay? But what happens is people get this really low in the morning, and then cortisol kind of comes up, and then they might even have like a high sugar meal in the morning, like, woo, I feel great, coffee, latte, Starbucks. And then what happens an hour later? Bam! And they're like, what am I going to do? I need something. So then they have like something sugary again. Comes back up a little bit. They get an afternoon lull. They feel like taking a nap. Oh, they get home from work. Oh, no, life's great. And I can just sail on through the evening. 10 o'clock at night, they're still up here. This is an imbalance, okay? The cortisol at this time should be down here. I like that I can see myself, so I can like do my own little chart here. Those of you on iTunes are going to have to watch this video because it's pretty extreme.
But even, what if you take like an afternoon nap or a late afternoon nap? You're going to...
I'm not going to say that that's not normal for the body. I mean, a little bit of a lull in the afternoon is okay, but you shouldn't have to do that, is what I'm saying. Like, there shouldn't be such a drop that you're like, oh my God, you're going to have to lay down. Or if you're sleepy after a meal, if you eat a meal and you start to fall asleep, that's not normal, okay? You should feel relief and you should feel good after a meal. And so that's when I know.
Oh my God, I need to lay down.
Exactly. So we need to keep an even keel of like this slow, consistent decline versus this up and down, and then a big spike at the end where you could run a marathon at night. Okay, that's not normal. Do you have to go?
Yes.
Okay, well, everybody say goodbye to Bunny. She's leaving me again.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'll keep them going, all three of them that are watching. But hopefully this will be on iTunes, and it will be on... thank you.
There's your Swannies. And I'll watch the rest, so you better do well.
Okay. She'll be checking in.
I will.
But yeah, this will also be on Patreon for the public. I'm not going to make it private, but for those of you that want to see the next podcast after this, you might want to think about patreon.com/Jodelle and getting on it. Okay, bye, Bunny. I love you.
See ya. Love you.
Okay, so low stomach acid, we've talked about that. That can contribute to low cortisol. And too much darkness, conversely, too much light. For example, a radiologist who works in the dark room looking at films all day is a big-time risk for cortisol problems. So if you're in a dark environment all day or you keep your house really dark, that's not really good for your circadian rhythm. How about if you're in a light environment and you're a lifeguard, you're outside in the sun for 10 hours a day or something like that. Chances are that's going to mess with your rhythm too, okay? Bright light, and then more bright light at night, or you work in a restaurant or a club at night that's really bright, that can mess with your rhythm. So think about that. Think about investing in these to wear sometimes. And then insulin handling problem, or insulin resistance and blood sugar handling problems, okay? So if you know that you have insulin resistance or you know that you have trouble handling carbohydrates, chances are that also means that you have an insulin resistance, or it can cause, cortisol resistance, or it can cause cortisol resistance too. So cortisol resistance is a real thing to where it's pumping, but you're not getting the benefit of it sustaining you, okay? Maybe that's when you feel the low issue of, I don't have any wherewithal, I can't really continue functioning, I can't go anymore, I'm so tired, okay? So during periods of chronic stress, both cortisol and insulin levels rise together and send out a strong signal to fat cells to store as much fat as possible and hold on to what fat they already contain. So that's no fun. So let me revert back and make sure there's no other questions here while I'm on the page. Oh, Lori says, bye, Bunny. How does alcohol affect cortisol? This is an excellent question. So alcohol does affect cortisol because it puts a stress on your system. Now, while you might feel like it relaxes you in the evening, it causes a blood sugar reaction. Okay, and then blood sugar, if I could draw like a caption for you, I would, but let's find blood sugar up here. So blood sugar stimulates insulin. Insulin then is overproduced and pumps out too much, and so cortisol's over here, and cortisol goes, oh, insulin's too high. This is a stress response. I better release cortisol. Remember what happens? Cortisol then calls on more blood sugar because it creates it from our muscle cells. More blood sugar calls on more insulin calls on more cortisol, and we see how it becomes this nasty cycle of more insulin, more fat gain, more fat storage, more tiredness, because when you're carrying that extra weight, then you get more tired, and now your cells continue to hear that insulin and cortisol, and they become resistant. When your cells are insulin resistant, then the inside of your cell is going, I don't have any sugar. There's no sugar coming in here. Will you please eat some sugar? Will you please drink some more alcohol? And so, but you're going, wow, why am I so tired? Why didn't I not get that lift from that latte or that alcohol, that cocktail that I drank that usually relaxes me or gives me energy, like the Red Bull drinks and stuff. So the issue is, no, alcohol might feel like it relaxes you, like if it's in the evening or, when you're out with friends, you might feel like it lets go of your inhibitions and you feel more relaxed. But the trouble is if you're waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning with a crash, that's a stress. And the only way to get back to sleep is cortisol has to rob from your muscles to feed blood sugar again, which then creates a whole insulin cycle again. So it's really kind of scary. And that's why we need to be careful with our alcohol consumption for sure. Okay, so aging also plays a factor in that the older we get, the more cortisol we have and the worse memory we have due to cortisol's tendency to shrink an area of the brain called the hippocampus, okay, which contains a high level of cortisol receptors and is involved in memory, okay? So think of the hippocampus as like your college campus of all of your past memories, okay? And it helps you retain new ones, all right? But if you don't have a good bout of cortisol receptors, or if cortisol is too high, then it can damage the hippocampus, okay? Or shrink it, I guess is a better term. So what are we going to do about this now that I'm 51 minutes into the podcast and I've still not told you how you're going to deal with this? Circadian rhythm is the most important, as it follows, the cortisol follows it greatly. Okay, what do I mean by that? That means that you have a natural rhythm that was given to you by a creator of the sun is up, humans should rise too, the sun is high, have your biggest meal at high noon, the sun is going down, it's time to eat your last meal, and then not eat after dinner and get prepared for sleep because your digestive system slows down at night too. So the more we can adhere to that kind of a schedule, the more cortisol will actually regulate, and you may even find that if you go to bed earlier, the first, couple of weeks you might do it, you might still feel groggy in the morning, but if you set some sort of, 9:30 bedtime that's earlier than what you had been doing, or maybe you go to bed at 9:30, but you're still tired right now, so maybe you need more of like the 8:30 bedtime. When you do that for a couple weeks, you're going to automatically start waking up a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier, naturally, maybe before your alarm clock. And what this means is you're slowly seeing the results of training your circadian rhythm, okay? So that's the first thing. I believe this is why our world is in a constant state of jet lag, even when we're not traveling. So do you ever feel that way? Like you feel like you're in jet lag, but you haven't been anywhere in months. That feeling of like, oh, it's just effort to do everything. After I travel, I know that feeling. But if I had to feel like that every day, I don't think I'd be very happy. And again, that induces more stress. Okay, so next thing, protein. Protein is essential when you have a cortisol imbalance, because if we can keep ourselves from robbing from our own muscle and keep protein adequate throughout the day, then our body isn't forced to go into gluconeogenesis and rob from our muscles. Okay, so we need to keep protein adequate. Does that mean excessive? No, that means palm-sized portion, not fingers, palm size, thickness of the palm at every sitting. Does that mean you need to eat 5 times a day or 7 times a day? Not necessarily. Some people can just be fine with 3 meals a day, but if you know that you have a high cortisol and an adrenal issue, adrenal dysfunction going on, if you resonate with all those things I talked about earlier, then chances are you might have to set the stage for a short amount of time of eating every 2 to 3 hours, a good balanced fat, protein, and carb. And this tells your body, you know what? We're not starving. We're not in a famine. She's not restricting calories, or he's not going to extremes like he usually does. So nervous system, calm down. Cortisol, you don't have to be released right now because we're not in a famine. Okay, so sometimes that can be beneficial. If you have been the constant grazer throughout the day because you're nervous energy, then chances are you would do better on a higher fat, moderate protein, kind of a ketogenic style diet. This is key for people that are suffering from cortisol issues, is we got to get your fat intake up and get your carb intake down. And I have a ketogenic plan on my a meal plan on my website, getfitwithjodell.com/shop. It's down below. I think I put the link in there anyway. And go and check that out. I have a quick start that's only $5, and then the whole 14-page meal plan that's like 7 different options at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then 26 other recipes in there for you to try is $19.99. So I try to keep it affordable for everybody to at least have some guidelines to go by, okay? Okay, next thing, reduce inflammatory foods. So if you're going to stop the inflammation that's causing the irritation, that's causing the stress for the cortisol to be released for, then it's going to start with eliminating the most inflammatory foods, which are anything that is a baked good. And I'm even talking all the way down to gluten-free crackers. Okay, anything that is a baked good needs to be taken out of your day, meaning that bread, crackers, cereal is a baked good. They had to bake that to put it into the box. Okay, anything like that needs to be eliminated. Tortillas, that's a baked good. Okay, saltine crackers, that's a baked good. And then anything else that's processed. So gluten and dairy for some people can be very inflammatory. So if you know that about yourself, it's time to eliminate it for a time. There's always going to be a time when you can bring it back in and perhaps try it again. But for now, you need to eliminate it and set a healing stage. And that's what's really great about that ketogenic plan, is because there is no gluten in it. There is very minimal dairy for people that can handle dairy. If you know that dairy has no issues with you, then that's fine. But there's also a bunch of options in there that are dairy-free. Okay, also avoiding alcohol, that's inflammatory to the body, as we've talked about, artificial sweetener, and trans fats. So eating out, like eating a lot of fast food, restaurant food, processed food from gas stations. I know a lot of people are doing that, but why? Why would you eat at a gas station? Okay, caffeinated beverages, those can be inflammatory. Did you know that sometimes people who are sensitive to gluten, coffee can actually cause your body to think that you ate gluten? Okay, and like I mentioned before, just because I'm off coffee right now doesn't mean that you have to be. It affects everybody differently, but one thing that does help get cortisol back in check is not stimulating the body, okay? And caffeine is a stimulant. And like I said, there is going to be a time when I have it again, because like all these things in life, there is a time when we can come back to it, but we need to create a healing phase first, and then we can reintroduce it and have our once in a whiles, okay, just not all the times. Okay, and then let's see, where was my notes? So soft drinks, sodas, all of that, anything with sugar, even a lot of fruit needs to be eliminated because that can be inflammatory. Too much fruit, as we know, is sugar. Blood sugar, insulin, cortisol, vicious circle, okay? Lifestyle habits of slowing down or not multitasking. And I'm preaching to the choir on this because I am notorious for having like 15 different tabs open on my computer. My husband always goes, why do you have so many tabs open? But that's my brain. My brain's always thinking about all these little things. And that's that overanalyzer, overthinker kind of mentality, okay? And that's not wrong or bad, but we need to get it under control. So, the best thing you can do is try to, at least some parts of your day, pick something that you're going to do just that. Like I mentioned in one of our last podcasts, pick one meal of a day where you don't have this, you don't have your computer, you don't have a newspaper, you just have your meal. Sit down with it, don't stand, but sit with it. And I'm working on not standing too, so I'm right there with you. But sit down, enjoy your meal, take the bite, savor it in your mouth, and taste it. Then the rest of your day, if you want to multitask, fine, but start to be more proactive about having a one-tracked mind, at least on certain parts of your day. This will lower your stress, because when you're trying to tackle so many things at one time, what does that do to your brain? It causes anxiety, it causes stress, which releases cortisol. Okay, avoiding too much darkness and having a Sabbath. These are all those lifestyle habits that I was mentioning before. So avoiding too much darkness, because like if your home, like I mentioned, is dark, but also avoiding too much light. So sticking these on you when you're in too much light, okay, just to help you wind down, to help your body tell your brain, okay, we can make serotonin, which makes melatonin, and we can go to sleep, okay? Water. Dehydration is big for stress. Even mild dehydration of like 3% can cause cortisol levels to rise. So there's that. Sea salt. Sea salt is very crucial to the adrenal glands to help make a right adequate amount of cortisol and not overproduce or underproduce. So, as I've talked about before, taking that sea salt and then drinking water with it, that's really good to help the adrenals function optimally and not overproduce or underproduce. Then let's talk some supplements, okay? Some of my favorite supplements, which you definitely want to talk to your doctor about. These are just my recommendations, so disclaimer here, I'm not a doctor. But phosphatidylserine is a very generalized, safe, how do I want to word this? They're kind of called nootropics, so it's kind of like a brain enhancer. So it's really good for the neurons and the brain activity, for memory, for cognition, for brain energy. But it also does a bonus of lowering cortisol naturally, okay? So phosphatidylserine. And if you don't know how that's spelled, just message me, and I'm happy to give you what that is and how many milligrams and stuff like that. But talk to your doctor about it. But this is a very safe, there is no side effects with this other than feeling really good. Okay, from what I've researched anyway, the only side effects were maybe some people had like a mild headache, and that's the only thing I saw. So very mild, and that was not common. Like, it was very uncommon. It's a very natural Chinese-based brain nootropic, okay? Then also anti-stress adaptogens. So I've talked about adaptogens on other podcasts. Adaptogenic herbs are herbs that are designed to, if your body needs to be more relaxed, the herbs help your adrenal glands adapt to that. If your body needs to be more amped up and have more energy and focus more and handle the stress that you're under because that stress can't change, the adaptogenics help you adapt to that as well. So ashwagandha is a really powerful one for that. And both of these you don't have to take forever. I would just say finish out a couple bottles and see how you feel. That should get you through like a 3 to 4 month time, and generally by then you'll notice a lot of difference and you'll be feeling a lot better. Schisandra, that's another one, and let me tell you that one of my favorite supplement companies, ATP Science, they have a cortisol formula called CortRx. CortRx is something that I've taken on and off for years because you just kind of cycle it when you need it, and it helps to lower cortisol levels naturally. It helps with sleep, it helps with stress, it helps with stress management, so feeling calm even when life isn't calm. Okay, and it both contains ashwagandha and schisandra in it, and it's very good. Okay, so go to atpscience.com and type in code GetFitWithJ, and you get 5% off your order. Okay, so GetFitWithJ, ATP Science, check that out, and check out CortRx. They also have a product called AmpV. AmpV is the only fat burner that I recommend. So for those of you dealing with that weight gain that won't move, then it's time to get you some CortRx and some AmpV, because in the midst of taking that AmpV, there's no stimulant in it. All it is all the essential oils, which are so critical to cortisol, keeping it adequate. So omega-3, 6, 9, all of those are in there, and so they really keep your body stable, because sometimes cortisol can be because of a fatty acid deficiency. We need good fats, and a lot of us are on that low-fat bandwagon and not getting them. So that can be a stress response. Okay, so I'm out of breath. I'm talking so much. Other things like L-theanine, which is an amino acid found in green tea, creates a relaxed alertness. There's also tyrosine, which is another amino acid, and BCAAs, which are branched-chain amino acid. They're little drinks that you can, little powdered branched-chain amino acids. A lot of bodybuilders use them, but they can keep you from, again, this is protein, this is amino acids that we're talking about here, that are keeping your body from breaking down your delicate muscle, because we do not want to lose muscle as we age. That's called sarcopenia, and sarcopenia is a dangerous muscle wasting or loss of muscle as we age, and that's only going to cause further disease and deterioration, okay? Less exercise for those overtrainers, and more adrenal-friendly workouts. So walking, natural movement. Like I mentioned, I've been putting out restorative natural movement on my Patreon page here. And so you guys check those out and do them. If you're kind of that over-exerciser, you might find that they're kind of easy at first, but once you start doing them, you feel the functionality and the mobility of them, and you almost feel like it's like this wonderful flowing therapy to your body, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing it with you. So I'll be putting out lots of episodes, so stay tuned to Patreon. And then sleep, rest, naps. If you do need those during this time of like recuperation in this healing protocol, aim to get 8 to 9. Sometimes people with high cortisol even need 10 hours of sleep at first. You won't always need that, so just give your body the time. Take the naps if you can get them, or just rest. Like tell yourself, okay, for the next half hour, I'm just going to sit on the couch and read my book. I'm not going to try to piddle and diddle on everything, okay? Or I'm not going to rush around town and do all my errands. I'm just going to relax for the next 30 minutes and lay down on my back, prop my feet up, and read my book, okay? Now, the biggest one I can talk about goes back with circadian rhythm, and that is sunshine, grounding, going outside, getting out of the house and going outside. One of the videos I put on my Patreon was outside doing some neck exercises. Any excuse you can get to go outside and do those kind of things is going to lower your cortisol. We're naturally made to be outdoors, but we've become an indoor nation. And so if you want to feel better, then it's time to get out in sunshine at least once a day. Get out and put your feet on the earth at least once a day. And get out in nature and breathe in those essential oils that the trees give off, okay? Doing that is going to naturally lower your cortisol over time. In fact, for people like with kidney issues, did you know that they can go outside first thing in the morning and walk around in the wet grass, the dewy grass, for 10 minutes, and it actually helps with kidney health? Isn't that powerful? So anyway, that's something to think about. The cortisol awakening response is highest at sunrise. So by getting that early morning light, you're telling your body, you know what? We need cortisol high right now, and we feel groggy and low, so we need to come out here every day and get our cortisol levels up. Then, due to the release of cortisol from the hippocampus in the brain, it is the hormone that wakes us up daily. So again, back to that hippocampus. And then finally, essential oils are really good to have on hand and burn. Certain ones can help with lowering cortisol. And interestingly enough, this little candle I have here, now it's not an essential oil, it's just a candle, but it's balsam fir, okay? I do, however, have, let me pull it out for you, I got this on Swanwick Sleep, and this is my Swanwick Sleep diffuser. And this is the best diffuser I've bought yet. Okay, this smells up my whole house. Now, my house, granted, is only 1,000 square feet, but that's okay because I like simplicity. And but this, when I turn this on, it's got a little timer, so it says, do you want it on for 30 minutes or 60 or 120 or 180? And then it also has a light, so it's got like really bright light or really soft glowing light. Okay, so it's kind of nice to have, and it really works. This is like a diffuser I think everybody should invest in. And theirs is only $29, and you're going to get it with 15% off. So there you go. Get Fit 15 on the little link below. But what it is balsam fir or any sort of pine or juniper or any sort of foresty smells, like earthy smells like sandalwood and cedar and what's another one? Atlas cedar is really good. Those are very grounding and earthing, and they will lower your cortisol naturally. So burn those as much as you can, especially during the most stressful times of your day. Even if you have to keep one at your desk or wear those little, I think they have little necklaces now that you put essential oil in, it just kind of wafts up into your nose if your office doesn't want to smell balsam fir. But you know what? How about essential oil in nature? Go out and walk in a pine forest. I promise you, you will feel better after you do that, okay? Go hang out by some pine trees, just lean up against one of them, give one a hug. I promise you're going to feel better. Okay, also, I do not advocate wearing sunglasses in the daytime, no matter what season we are in. Why? Because humans tend to be very sensitive to the loss of light in winter months because of the lack of sunlight. So wearing sunglasses, now here's the caveat, is if you have high cortisol and your adrenal glands are having issues, you will be sensitive to light. So going out without your sunglasses, you're going to be like, I can't go out with my sunglasses. Okay. That I know, I understand, but the more you can, like wear a hat or something that shields your eyes, but do not turn the light that you're looking through into darkness during the day when you're outside, because not only does that tell the skin receptors that are trying to get good vitamin D not to manufacture it, but it also doesn't help your cortisol figure out your circadian rhythm. So it tells your body, wow, it's really dark out, but we're outside, so it must be nighttime, so I'm sleepy, okay? So you could be driving down the road with your sunglasses on and you're getting sleepy. So I say all that to say this, it can be managed, okay? Stress can be managed and even reversed. You can reverse a cortisol malfunction, and that's what I wanted to get across to you guys today. So I hope that those tips, you will start to implement them as much as possible. And so Lori says, so how do we fix it besides light? So I hope that you heard all of those other things besides light that we can do. But I will say light is the most important. You have got to match your circadian rhythm. And if you're not going to change any of your nighttime routine of being on devices, then at least get these to mitigate that, okay? You will notice a difference wearing them, but you have to be consistent. You have to wear them as soon as the sun goes down and do not take them off until you go to bed, because you can't allow any of that blue light in to tell your body, oh, it's day, okay? So don't forget them. That's the most important. Now, I have lots more to talk about, but there's not enough time, so I'm going to do another podcast soon. Even if Bunny can't come on with me, I'm just going to do another one. But I want to touch on what that is for you guys. So, mitochondria mayhem. Okay, we're going to be talking about your mitochondria. If you don't know what your mitochondria are, you definitely need to listen to this, because these are the energy factories of every cell of your body, and if you need energy, you need to focus on mitochondria. So I'm going to do a podcast on mitochondria, and I actually have one on my YouTube site, but not as detailed and not as easy to implement as the notes I have here. Also, mark my word that there's going to be a rise in eye issues over the next maybe 5 to 10 years, even sooner probably, when this 5G technology comes out for cell phones. Okay, so if eye irritation is something that you're dealing with, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned to my Patreon page, because I'm going to be talking about what we can do to handle some of the eye stress, irritation, diseases that are going on, macular degeneration, also things like floaters in your eye and really tired, burning, irritated eyes. Okay, all of that's going to be addressed. There's an easy fix out there, and I want to talk about eyes in general, because we definitely don't want to hurt our eyes any worse than we already have with all this blue light technology. Okay? And then I didn't want to go without giving you some more info or promo codes for you to play with. So if you're familiar with the F-Bomb, dropinfbomb.com, there's a link down below. They are offering my listeners 20% off your purchase of F-Bomb. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. The ones I have here in my drawer have the house blend that you can mix into your coffee or your tea. So this is a blend of coconut, macadamia, and Brazil nut oils. And then there's just pure coconut oil. And then they also have my favorite, which is coconut and macadamia nut butter. Okay, so, oh, it's decadent. So for those of you that need to get off of like peanut butters and almond butters and stuff like that, because it's a little too much nuts. If you don't know why you shouldn't have too much nuts, go back and listen to Why You Shouldn't Go Nuts podcast on my iTunes. But these are actually the safest nuts, so to speak. Actually, coconut's a fruit, but still, the nut itself, coconut butter and stuff like that, the nut, I shouldn't say the nut itself because there isn't a nut inside of it, but I mean the butter itself is just the meat fat of the coconut. And the macadamia, this is like the safest nut. So if you're going to do nuts, the macadamia is probably the least inflammatory and the highest in fat, so it's very satisfying. So this makes ketosis easier, so to speak. So for those of you that are going to go for the ketosis plan to help your cortisol, you might want to invest in these and use the code GETFIT for 20% off. GETFIT. Okay, all one word, GETFIT, 20% off at dropinfbomb.com. And you can use that link below in the page. Let's see if there's anything. Was there any other promo codes? Just the ATP Science. You can go and get the Quarter X and the Amp V, and that was Get Fit with J, and that's 5% off. And then the other one was the Swannies Get Fit 15 for 15% off, and then the F-Bombs are Get Fit for 20% off. So all the links are down below. And if you guys have any further questions as the week goes on or as you watch this, you can message me right through Patreon, and it's almost like a text message. I can see it right away, and I can message you back. So that's the benefit of Patreon, is it's like instant text messaging with Jodelle, okay? So for those of you on iTunes listening, I hope you'll join me there, patreon.com/Jodelle, for as little as $1 a month, because I will be leaving Facebook, and I will be no longer doing podcasts there. However, they will still be on iTunes, because I won't leave my iTunes listeners. Love you guys so much. So, and I love my patrons. Thank you to all of you who have been supporting the page and also commenting and liking everything, and don't forget to share it. Some stuff is public, but most of the stuff is only for patrons, so I hope you guys will join me there. I also do online coaching through there, through emailing and giving you meal plans and stuff like that. Okay, I've rambled on long enough. That's 74 minutes, so I'm going to call it good there. Thank you guys, and you're awesome. I appreciate every one of you. Have a good day. Don't forget to write. Bye.